earlier this week, the FBI executed a search warrant at an elections operations center in Fulton County, Georgia. They're seeking records related to the 2020 presidential election. Now, you may recall that Fulton County became literally ground zero for the 2020 election concerns and complaints. Many were suspecting that the elections there were at best lacking transparency and at worst completely fraudulent. So what can we make of this latest development with the FBI? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Cleta Mitchell. She's a senior legal fellow at the Conservative Partner Institute and founder of the Election Integrity Network. Cleta, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you join us.
Thank you, Jody. It's always nice to be with you.
So let's start with this, Cleta. Can you share with our viewers and our listeners what led us to this point of the FBI raiding the election headquarters?
Well, this goes back to 2020. There has been an effort going on since November of 2020 to get access to the records and the ballots because it is Fulton County basically conducted a completely fraudulent election. I can go through some of the specifics, but Voter GA filed an action in November of maybe December of 2020 to get the judge to issue a court order, a protective order to prohibit the destruction of the ballots and the election materials. That order, that protective order, was issued, if you can believe it, on January 6th of 2021. That's why these records are still, we're still in the election warehouse, the Fulton County Election Board and the court clerk of Fulton County. They share a warehouse. And so these records are supposed to have been preserved. And the reason is because I just want to read you just a couple of bullet points about what the problems in Fulton County have been. Let's start with the fact that the day after the election, November 4th of 2020, Brad Raffensperger said on the Today Show that there were only 94,000 ballots left to be counted in Georgia. When the results were completed, there were 500,000 more ballots than he had said were still outstanding. And so if you look at Fulton County, we know that what happened all over the state was that the digital images of the ballots were destroyed almost instantaneously after the election, which is a violation of federal and state law in Georgia. But then I just want to share with you some information about some of the problems that existed in Fulton County. They have no digital record for all the votes cast in person, which is 300 and almost 400,000 ballot images that were destroyed. The official returns, tabulator closing tapes for all tabulation are fraudulent, invalid, and uncertified. Now, let me tell you why that statement, what that means. When you have a tabulator, Georgia law requires that there be an opening tape that shows 0 votes, that this tabulator starting with 0 before the ballots are starting to be inserted in the tabulator. There are no opening tabulator tapes. And then you have closing tapes that are required that are supposed to be signed by the poll manager and 2 poll workers. 3 people are supposed to sign every tape agreeing they're looking at the tape and that is supposed to tell what the total number of ballots were that were processed and tabulated by that machine for that. And every machine, every tabulator has a serial number. And when you print those tabulator tapes, it has the serial number, the date and time. It has the number of ballots tabulated, and it's supposed to be signed. You have some tabulator tapes that have the same serial number that says that they were at different polling locations. That is impossible. One tabulator cannot be at 2 physical locations at the same time. So that's fraudulent. So I could go on and on. In fact, there was just a report filed last night by a researcher who has been working on this for 5 years, has filed many complaints with the state election board, and he pulled together all of the complaints. And if people want to read that, if they, I don't know where else it's posted, but it's posted on his Twitter account, which is at Kevin Moncla, Moncla. It's a 263-page report, but the first 14 pages tells you all you need to know about the problems. And finally, that's why the FBI went in.
Yeah, I saw part of that report. It's stunning. Everything you're talking about, Cleta, is absolutely horrifying. It seems to me, and I'm no judge, no attorney, but it seems to me somebody's going to be in big trouble over this, or probably ought to be. At least some folks end up in jail with this. So let's land on this. We've got less than 2 minutes here, but we have midterm elections. We've got election integrity. How would you describe the state of election integrity right now as we're headed into this midterm?
If you're talking about Fulton County, it's terrible. It's still terrible. They are still not providing transparency and accountability. They're not following the law. They're supposed to provide certain documents to the members of the Board of Registration and Election so that they can tell whether or not the number of voters who signed up to vote, who registered as signing up, matches the number of ballots issued at every polling place. They will not provide that information. And so, look, it varies in different places. We've made a lot of progress in a lot of places in the country where we have active citizen involvement and oversight of these elections. Fulton County is still ground zero for a complete mess of an election. And there's no effort by the powers that be in Georgia or the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. There's no reporter, no TV, none of them pay any attention to trying to fix the problem. So they just keep doing it. Hopefully this FBI action will start to get to the truth.
Yeah, I think it absolutely will. That's the purpose of it, and I think it is going to get to the bottom of it. Thank you so much, Cleta Mitchell, founder of the Election Integrity Network. Always great to have you join us on Washington Watch.
Thank you so much.